This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on Nation Cheers for Indian Contingent for Tokyo Olympics. The participants are G. Rajaraman and S. Kanan, sports journalist.
With less than a fortnight left for the Olympic Games to begin in Tokyo, India is gearing itself up to mount its best challenge ever. 126 athletes are headed to Tokyo, and all of India will expect the Indian team to do better than it has ever done. The 6 medals showing in London was the best India has had. Of course, the gold medal that Abhinav Bindra got in 2008 lifted India's position on the medal tally, but the 6 medals in London remain a highlight. In Rio, India fell down to just 2 medals, and there is great hope that India will pick up a lot more medals. And I'm sure that all athletes are very well prepared. Kannan, what are your own thoughts on that?
We have the highest number of disciplines being represented, which is 18. You've got fencing, you've got Bhavani Devi, and you've got equestrian again after a break. You've also got judo, and you've got a whole gamut of new disciplines. When I mean new, where India will be there, probably were not there in Rio. So that is a new point, and we also see that the representation, the cross-section of athletes coming from pan-India, you're talking about north to south and east to west. So this is a very promising games, and when I say promising, not just in terms of effort, but given the pandemic which the athletes have dealt with for 16 months, it's very interesting. Yes, medals are there in the offing, and we all are going to talk about medals, because Cheer for India, obviously you will cheer more when you win medals.
The Cheer for India campaign is a very essential part of ensuring that the morale of the athletes is high, and especially when the highest offices in the land, led by the Prime Minister in this instance, is joining the campaign and is motivating the athletes and is inspiring them to go and give the best. You can actually sense the coming together of Team India.
Certainly, I think you hit the nail on the head, bang on, and I think Prime Minister Narendra Modi is personally taking interest. He's monitoring the preparations. He's going to have a Zoom, I don't know what software they're using, they're going to have a chat with all the athletes, which will be, very unique. Yes, in the past, athletes were greeted in person, but this time it's going to be through the digital medium, because the athletes are based in India, some are in Europe, some in America, and like the boxers are in Dubai. So this is very unique, the digital platform to motivate them. I think he's a brilliant orator in terms of motivation, and the athletes will also love it because they need that extra push, and when it comes from the Prime Minister of India, this is not the first time though, he'll be doing it, and I'm sure it'll lift their spirits. They'll go all out firing in Tokyo 2020.
I think the good thing also is that a lot of citizens are joining in now. I notice how the Indian cricketers sitting in England, getting ready for their own test series against England, have joined the campaign for Cheer for India. The women cricketers are in the middle of a series, and they have taken time off to cheer the Indian contingent on. And I read Abhinav Bindra, India's only Olympic gold medalist, put out a tweet where he says that if any athlete wants his help in whichever way, he is just a phone call away. When you see leaders and all of the people coming together, you know that a beautiful environment is being created, a wonderful momentum is being built.
I think Cheer for India is really, in the true sense, Cheer for India, because you've got people cutting across all disciplines. When I mean disciplines, someone from the common walk, someone who normally listens to radio commentary on his radio set or the mobile phone, or someone who's, watching it through another laptop or, pad. And then you have also the people who are part of other sporting disciplines. Cricket, for example. Cricket, there's no taking away, what the effort is, but cricket has always been prime focus. And you have cricketers sitting in England, men and women. All this is an amalgam of energy being built positively. It's not adding pressure. It is certainly like an upward force extending below the arm, which lifts you to great heights on the big stage. And yes, Abhinav Bindra has been helping certain athletes in his own quiet way. He has never sought publicity for his efforts. Like you used to have total hockey, this is total sport in Indian history. Everyone is there to cheer. Everyone is there to support. There has been no dearth, shortcoming or shortage of any resource. I mean, whether it's a bootlace or it's a racket string or you want a supplement, you name it and you have it. I don't think any athlete can complain he or she has suffered in any which way, despite the 2 corona waves which India has witnessed.
I think it's also important at this point of time, Kannan, to just cast an eye on how the government has really helped Indian athletes. And the Cheer for India campaign may be lasting just about a couple of weeks. It has started only recently. But the support for Indian athletes has been an ongoing process. I remember 2016 when India did not have a very good Olympic game, came back, I think the Prime Minister appointed a committee with Abhinav Bindra, Pullela Gopichan and Viren Raskina as key members in that. And they came up with a very important document, and some of those suggestions that they have given have all been implemented. And I noticed that the government of India has spent more than 1,000 crores on athletes from 18 Olympic disciplines and the Paralympic Committee in the last 4 or 5 years. When a country is investing so much energy, so much money, so much thought into how it is going to plan its Olympic campaign, the results are bound to be seen. And I think the Cheer for India campaign in the final stages of preparation is only serving as a booster dose for the athletes who are headed to the Olympic Games.
Well, I think there's one very important point I would like to add, and that is, normally in the Olympic cycle, this is of 4 years. Rio to Tokyo should have been 2016 to 2020. 2020, there was heartbreak when the Olympics got postponed. All the countries who compete in the Olympics were disappointed. The government of India has spent so much of money and they have extended that cover. When I mean cover, they have extended that support. The camps continued, the coaches continued to be here, and the athletes benefited in every which way. There was nothing like taking a break, going back home. If they did go home, it was for very short spells, be it athletics camps, boxing camps, be it archery camp, be it hockey camps. So, the government of India never flinched. There is a kind of impression there is economic recession. But for India's Olympic elite athletes, there has been no recession. And the beauty of it is, once the Olympics are over, we'll be slipping into the Asian Games mode next year. And I'm sure Cheer for India will continue from the government of India's side and from every sporting fan in this nation.
I think the fact that there is plenty of support, not only from the government, but there are NGOs which are pumping in some money. There are corporates which have come together to help the Indian Olympic campaign. When you see the synergy that is being brought together, you really know that Team India is working to ensure that it comes back home with a reasonable haul. Every athlete is able to give 100%, is able to make the best effort in Tokyo, is able to peak in Tokyo. In all my years of journalism, Kannan, this seems to be the best possible campaign in terms of coming together of preparation, in terms of planning, in terms of getting the best coaches from overseas. I gather there were as many as 43 overseas coaches and support staff in this Olympic cycle that worked in India. And I think all of that will go on to help India do well and make very good reason of this Cheer for India campaign.
Definitely, you talked about it's not just medals, it's performances matter. And I think 2016, the shining example is the little gymnast, Deepa Karmakar. Unfortunately, she is not qualified this time. But, the entire nation cheered for her. August 14th midnight, rather, just before Independence Day, when she did that super effort, finished fourth in the vault, and, everyone started talking about gymnastics as if they knew it, like it's like cricket cover drive or the square cut or something like tennis, you hitting an ace. So everyone knew about what kind of things she did at that time. And I'm sure this time people will pick up from other sport. People will learn the nuances from judo. People will learn from nuances of fencing. People will learn from what equestrian is, how tough it is for man and mount to compete. So there are a lot of lessons to be learned. It's not just about the medal. It's about soaking in the pressure, knowing, expectations of 1 billion are justified, and they will carry the campaign forward, and the positive energy has been sustained. It is not like it just started 15 days ago. The campaign has been there, and when you talked about NGOs being there, foreign coaches coming in, I think it has been a vital ingredient, because we've seen that you are using sports science in a big way. You're using mental trainers, you're using people, physiotherapists, and even the contingent which is going to be accompanied by doctors to Tokyo, you're going to have specialists over there. So there is nothing like left to chance, and I just wish all the athletes are safe. They all know how to deal with the bio bubble. They've been in and out of it several times. I think each of them has faced what is called now the RT-PCR tests multiple times. So they know when they go to Tokyo, they will be forced to take the saliva test multiple times. They know how to stay safe. Do gaz duri, mask hai zaruri, all these things are applicable, and they know it.
The athletes know that they are in the best state of both physical and mental conditioning. I think if you look at how the last 3 years have progressed, of course, 2020 was not very good for world sport. Lots of events were cancelled. But when you see how many times Indian athletes have gone overseas for competition, both for exposure and to keep their ranking high, now with several world number ones within its ranks, with several athletes who are in the top 10, there is no fear. I think this generation is completely unafraid.
there's been a paradigm shift. It has been very, very tight, unless you're really the cream, you're top. Across every sport, it's very tough. For example, we talk about men's doubles in tennis where, there's still a chance that Rohan Bopanna and Divic Charan could still qualify. Why I'm mentioning about this is there are going to be very limited pairs competing in the draw, and Tokyo wants to keep the numbers down, the overall numbers down, so they're encouraging more of singles players to participate. So across all disciplines, for example, Bhavani Devi has talked, several times that how the number of competitors will be less. So it's not 200. If you are among just the top 40, you happen to make the cut. So I think if you look at every classification where the athletes have made it to Tokyo, it is a big achievement. And what happens on that particular day, you can look at how they will do on that particular day, cope with the heat, cope with the very high humidity, and last it out beautifully.
I think it's also important to remember, Kannan, that while this campaign, Cheer for India, is on at this point of time, in just maybe a couple of weeks' time, we will start seeing how the athletes are bringing cheer to the nation. I think there is great expectation that they will lift the morale of the country. We have seen how the Indian cricket team, when it has won the World Cup or it has done really well overseas, has been able to lift the morale of the nation. But I think the Olympic campaign, if it does well, if the Indians are able to come back home with 6 to 10 medals, I think all of India will be celebrating. I think the mood of the nation will be lifted. India has been through a crisis in terms of the coronavirus over the last year and a half. But I think the Olympic campaign, if it does well, the whole thing will be reversed. Instead of a Cheer for India campaign, it will be the athletes who will cause cheer for India.
We've always talked about India not having a sporting culture. So if you're going to win more medals, the sporting culture can change. It's not about, there's certain people who are very sarcastic during the previous Olympics. They took to tools which are really unfair on social media, but I don't see that happening this time. I think everyone is genuinely backing the athlete, and the athlete knows that he or she has to deliver. And if they deliver, there's a huge scope. There's a huge future for the next generation, because as you mentioned, during the pandemic, there's been only bad news and sad news to hear day in and day out. And if you win, like for example, when you won in Australia, the whole mood of the nation changed when you won the Test series. We did well against England, in the Test series at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. That was also morale boosting. And when you see so many different top performances coming, whether it is the All England Badminton Championship, or when you hear a fencer has made it, or someone in equestrian sitting away for Mirza, all alone toiling in Germany making it, it lifts the morale. It lifts the spirit of everyone. Just as watching Euro football or Copa America lifts the morale. So similarly, if Indian athletes deliver, and when I mean deliver, it's not necessarily medals, even if you achieve personal best, you also know that we've got this sensational news of 2 swimmers making the cut in A qualification. So all these are positives. You cannot measure them in tangible terms just in one Olympics. You have to build on it, and I'm sure the building process has begun, and Cheer for India will add more cheer to it.
I think also when you speak about intangibles, with the Prime Minister leading the way and speaking to the athletes on Tuesday the 13th, I'm sure the morale will be high, and the Indians will then be geared up to deliver the best possible outcomes for India.
Yeah, certainly looking at the best possible outcome. Could you just chip in with whom you would possibly go with as, the hot medal prospects from India? Because everyone does his or her calculation, like in a cricket series, so-and-so is going to take so many wickets. Ex-batsman is going to score the maximum number of runs. So everyone in sport, everyone who follows sport, whether it is archery or whether it is boxing or whether it is shooting, where we have 15 shooters, we will look at a scan, who are the hot favorites. Of course, on the given day, anyone is capable of springing a surprise. But if you were to pick a few athletes who look like real hot prospects on form and fluency and having trained for the big day.
We'll leave that discussion for just another day, Kannan, because we have run out of time. And we will celebrate the Indians. We will cheer for India. And I'm sure that the Indian athletes will put a smile on all our faces beginning on the 24th of July.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on Nation Cheers for Indian Contingent for Tokyo Olympics. The participants were G. Rajaraman and S. Kanan, sports journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsttalks@gmail.com.